If you're trying to do something, if you're trying to address the situation, if you're trying to solve problems, if you're trying to deal with challenges, then the crucial thing is to have some grasp of what it is you're dealing with.
These people that we bring in are experts in various fields, and while we want their expertise, we don't want their participation in the workshop to be limited to what they already know when they walk in the room.
I once had a teacher who said, we imagine that we walk around with a spotlight on our head, which is illuminating the world, but it's usually not a spotlight, it's a projector. And what we're seeing out there is what we have in here. So projection is the biggest obstacle to seeing clearly what's there.
So we put them into strange situations. We take a learning journey to a part of the system. We have them meet strangers and engage with something interesting and overwhelm and sort of flush out all that stale and rehearsed thinking that comprises our expertise, if you see what I mean.
And basically all you're doing in the learning journey is asking other people, how do you see things?
If you're not part of the problem, you can't be part of the solution. So if you don't own and experience and immerse yourself in the problem, you're just projecting your solutions onto others. That's why we do learning journeys.
I went to the Mennonite apple farm. It's been a very long time since I actually talked to a farmer, and I'm fascinated with food. I've never really had the opportunity to talk with someone at that level, at the very basic level with regards to food production, which is a farmer. My assumptions were that the farmer was somebody in our society who is sort of a blue-collar person, with getting their hands dirty, that kind of thing, working with the land. Those are sort of my basic assumptions. That was completely wrong was the concept of the farmer as the man getting his hands dirty. Each farmer is almost like a CEO of a corporation. It is so involved. It's incredible that being a farmer has to be one of the most the skill set you need to be a farmer is way beyond anything that I could have imagined with regards to finance and technology and human resources, and it was incredible. It really opened up my eyes.
Farming, as a rule, has too often been, in the last 2 generations, I would say, not so much a case of making money on the product you sell, but rather eking out a living and hoping that when you sell the farm that your asset value has increased to the point that then becomes your retirement. In our operation, on the growing end of it, wages are close to 60%. Okay, so when your input costs 60% increase 28% over a 3-year period, You don't have to be a mathematician
Yeah.
to figure out
Yeah.
where there could be some real big problems, and especially when you're competing with Chile or
Exactly.
China
Yeah.
or whatever. When you look at the benefits of local, you have to look at all the reasons
whole
and bring them
picture,
all
yeah.
together, and then you make a very strong case. The reasons being environment, the economy, the food safety issues, and of course nutrition would be a fourth one. And there could be a few others that I'm kind of missing, but I'm saying that bringing them all together, those are kind of the issues that I think when you take them all together, you have a very good argument as to why there's some real benefits.
The most interesting part of the learning journey, as far as I'm concerned, is not actually the journey, but when we sit together immediately after and say, okay, what did we just see? And we were just there, we heard exactly the same words, saw exactly the same things for 1 hour, and we sit down afterwards, you saw X and I saw Y. So finally you begin to see, whoa, this is not as straightforward as I thought. Maybe I don't know everything. Maybe there's more going on here, and just crack open the possibility that there might be other valuable interpretations.
Did we learn anything?
What's that?
Did we learn anything? Did we
Yeah,
learn?
lots about selling, selling off your land to developer or whatever in return. But I almost got the feeling that this is like a business plan for many farmers.
Yes, that's
Like it's
what
actually,
you're
it's like an intent. It's like
yeah.
you
The
start off,
RRSP.
yeah,
It's
yes,
almost like the food industry needs a massive rethink.
yeah,
In the same way that Wall Street is going through its pain
Yeah.
right now and say, you can't do what you did. I mean, they found this crazy model, which translated to disaster now, but for a good 2-3 years, we were running on this strange credit model where everybody was making money somehow. And I think the question of how do you attach the real cost of food to a business model that makes sense for farmers to actually farm.
yeah. It's crazy. Food is so essential to us, obviously. Like food and water, like air and water. We need food, and yet it seems that there's something wrong when the farmers themselves are like those graphs. Like so many farmers are making virtually nothing.
So when you go meet the other with a capital O, the stranger, the person who's trying to make a difference, who sees the world completely differently from how you see it, because their world is completely different from you. They're dealing with 3 million apples every month, and you have no idea what that looks like and how that works, and immigrant labor and fertilizers and organic standards in US and standards in Canada, and how that works with standards in Chile, and what the price does, and how that all affects land prices. You cannot see that until you go see it. And it's one thing to study it, but when we study it, it just remains kind of brittle and kind of a position. But when it's lived experience, and there's sort of flesh and blood and that grit and that, you see the suffering and the joy and the intensity of the other person, well, that affects our stakeholders in a completely different way. They now can come back to the room after the learning journey and bring with them what they experienced, bring with them the farmer's reality. Because why? Because it touched them. It made an impression upon them that they then can authentically represent and authentically speak about and authentically want to do something about.